It all started in 1967 when my dad had a stroke in the front room. I was then 10 years of age. My parents bought this old cottage in 1963. The house was built in 1740. There had been no problems in the house prior to 1967. When my dad came out of the hospital, he was paralyzed down the left-hand side and was unable to speak. That's when things started to happen in the house. The first thing that happened was my parents were in bed, and suddenly all the blankets waved and rolled completely off the bed. Also, the wallpaper in the bedroom would become soaking wet for no apparent reason, then bone dry next day. As the months passed by, my father regained most of the use on his left side, but never regained his speech. Also, my father after the stroke became nasty and violent towards me. I had to put a bolt on my bedroom door, as he would wander about in the middle of the night and come in my bedroom and just stare at me sometimes, waving a fist. One night, I was in bed, and I woke up to the bed rocking on its own. I put the bedside lamp on and jumped out of bed screaming. I unbolted the door, shouting to my mother. As she entered the bedroom, the bed was still jumping on its own accord. In front of us, we both ran downstairs, and my father knew nothing as he had some sleeping tablets. We walked a while to calm down, then went back to check. It had stopped by then, so I got back in bed and left the lights on. I had no choice. We did have a third bedroom, but to come and go, I had to pass through my parents' bedroom, and as an 11-year-old boy, I was scared of what my dad would do next, so I had to stop in that bedroom. One night, me and my mother were watching television. It was about 11:30 p.m. when we heard a terrible screaming coming from the small cast iron window, which led into the back garden, near the television. We didn't dare speak to each other, and that stopped after about 4 minutes. The next thing I knew, the television, which was on 4 screwed legs, began to walk towards us, rocking from side to side. It only stopped when the main cord pulled tight. We were by then petrified. The screaming noise had woke my father, and he came downstairs shouting, but due to his stroke, the words were not making any sense. He ran into the back sitting room. My mother said, "Go get your dad, or he might have another stroke," so off I went. Entering the room, it was pitch black. Everything happened so fast, I didn't think about turning the light on. And then I looked at the back window, which led onto the very private, unlit garden. A gray-white figure floated past the window, of the side view. It was very defined. He had a 3-cornered hat, a white beard, walking stick, and a long trench-type coat with 3 buttons on it with no legs visible. I ran out of the room, leaving my father, who was looking out of the other window, who hadn't seen anything. I ran to the other room to my mother. I was unable to speak properly to her for at least an hour. My father just wandered back to bed. In desperation, my mother contacted a medium. She said the spirit was called Jacob, who was only trying to help us through the difficult time. He had been a gardener who got killed when a horse fell on him, the medium said. Things became so bad, doors banging, strange sounds in the middle of the night, not helped by my father, who everybody was scared of. I had an older sister, and she moved out in 1968 to get away from the situation. In the end, my mother put the house up for sale in 1972. And that last night, it was terrible. My father was in bed asleep with those sleeping tablets again, so he was unaware of anything. Me and my mother was huddled up in the front room. We stayed awake all night, doors banging, banging from under the floorboards, moaning noises. Then dawn broke at 6:30 a.m. Everything stopped and went calm. We couldn't wait to move out. After we sold it, nobody lived in it longer than 18 months, till it became empty 25 years ago. Around the time this event occurred, I was around 11 or 12. I am a female, And I guess you could say I live in your basic, small, no creepy town where everybody knows each other and nothing super creepy goes on. Although we do have some surrounding towns that are pretty sketch and full of druggies or whatnot. But anyway, here is my story. Me and my mother were visiting a neighboring town of ours, maybe 10 to 15 minutes away. We were there helping out my stepmom set up a reception for a wedding that would be held later in the week. It took place in a building called the Lions Hall, which is basically a place for get-togethers and such. Now, something you should know now is that the town we were in was one of the sketchier places, and it was in one of the worst sections. Me and my sister were outside of the building, walking around and talking, when this guy pulled up in a truck. Now my stepmom was expecting someone to help carry in a few things, although she didn't really know him. So thinking nothing of it, we just assumed it was him. So then he got out of the truck and went into the building. We could hear him talking to our stepmom. He was there for a while, but then finally came out of the building and went back into his truck. Now at this point, me and my sister were still outside walking around. We noticed he was staring at us, blankly with no real expression on his face. He sat like that for a while until me and my sister had enough and walked around to the back of the building. Then that's when he started the truck and slowly crept around the building, sort of following us. We went around and around, doing this for probably 4 minutes or so. We could tell something was seriously off, but then, just as we turned the corner to where he was gone. Like poof into thin air. We never heard him drove off or anything, and that was enough for us. So we ran inside and didn't go back out for the rest of the day. We never spoke about our encounter to anyone. So as far as I know, weird sketchy truck guy, let's never meet again. A few months ago, I was staying at my friend's house. Basically, I'd gone to sleep as normal. I usually sleep perfectly, but this time, I woke up at 5:35 and felt weird. I took the blanket from my face and looked to the foot of my bed and saw 2 girls, both blonde, didn't have a face, and had little blue penny dresses on. I looked at them for a good few seconds and turned back over to sleep. I told my clairvoyant friend, and she told me she's always thought I had a talent for seeing the beyond. Thank you for reading. I know this is kind of short, but I guess it was a kind of cool story. I'm living in Birmingham, and I'm thinking there has to be some haunted locations that I could go to and feel around, given the history of the city. I started doing some research, looking for some local haunts, and lo and behold, I come to find out that I live 15 minutes from one of the most haunted places on Earth, Sloss Furnance. The factory was built in the 1800s, and hundreds of men died there due to the grueling nature of the work. I read about the history and ghost stories other people told about the places and decided that this was going to be my first ghost hunt. My trip to Sloss Furnance occurred over the course of 2 days, the first day being my first time, and all I did was just walk around the place, read the exhibit signs, and explore the grounds. They turned the furnace into a museum that is open to the public, and they also use the grounds to host concerts, weddings, and other social events. They happened to be planning for a wedding the first day I was there, and a few tourists were milling around, so I wasn't completely alone, but the place was fascinating. I was able to walk into a few of the off-limits areas and look around. I pulled out my phone, started recording, went into the boiler room, and managed to catch a few orbs in the footage. It was cool, but nothing to write home about. I left, went home, and that was that. On the second day, at Sloss Furnance. My second day at Sloss Furnance will go down in the history books of ghost hunting. I managed to do what the ghost hunters, scariest place on earth, and countless paranormal investigation teams have failed to do, and that is film an actual ghost. One ghost would be impressive indeed, but what if I told you I filmed at least 5 ghosts? I can almost guarantee you that you have never seen ghost footage ever that comes even close to what you are about to see. When I pulled up the second day, it was a rainy, gloomy Sunday afternoon. As I drove to the gate, I saw a sign blocking the entrance saying that the museum was closed. It was hardly secure, so I just parked my car across the street and walked in through the front entrance. There was a construction crew working on the left end of the facility away from the actual furnace itself. When I walked into the entrance, I could see remnants of the wedding party from the day before. Apparently, they weren't responsible for cleaning. I made my way into the boiler room, took out my phone, and started recording again. Here I am all alone in a damp, dark factory, listening to the sound of the rain beating down against the roof, armed with only a cell phone. I walked through the boiler room, filming as I went along, and decided to call it a day. It wasn't until I got home, watched the rest of a playoff basketball game, and looked at my phone when I realized what I just captured. I was able to count at least 5 ghosts. The best part about it all is that I have proof. When you look at the film, go to the 320 mark, you will see a ghost. Go to 344, you will see a ghost, and up to 350, and you will see a literal ghost scene. If you slow it down, you will see ghosts peeping from different corners. Amazing. This is hands down the best ghost footage you will ever see. Hey guys, PhantomOfDarkness here again, checking in on you to make sure you are okay, because that's the type of person I am. Anyway guys, if you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, but mostly comment and mostly share, because I love that kind of thing. I love the interaction with you guys, and I love talking to you guys, and I really want to know your thoughts and what you feel about this particular subject. I almost tripped up on my words, but I'm not even going to edit that out. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Love you as always. Good night.